Admiral Joseph Papp, the United States Special Representative for the Arctic. Sir? The Admiral is going to say a couple words and then open it up for questions.
Okay, so, well, good afternoon. Thank you for coming here. My name is Admiral, I go by Admiral Bob Papp, Robert Joseph Papp, but I go by Admiral Bob Papp, and I'm retired from the United States Coast Guard. I retired last May, and as I was retiring, Secretary of State John Kerry called me to ask if I might join the State Department and take on the challenge of preparing the State Department and the United States for chairmanship of the Arctic Council. The assignment actually literally goes beyond that. I'm responsible for all things having to do with the Arctic within the State Department, but clearly the high priority for us right now is preparations for assuming the chairmanship in April. So what I'm doing right now is I'm visiting all the Nordic countries. We started off in Stockholm, then went to Tromsø, Norway. We're here in Copenhagen today and tomorrow. We'll proceed from here to Helsinki, and then after that we go to Moscow to talk to the Russians after I've had a chance to talk to all our Nordic partners. What we're doing is talking through our agenda that we have for the Arctic Council, importantly, listening to people who have dealt with the Arctic for many, many years to help inform some of the decisions we need to make, and then taking that information back to Washington to put the final touches on our program before we take over the chairmanship in April. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, and we'll open up the floor. Yes, ma'am.
Michelle Rasmussen with Executive Intelligence Review from Washington. As we speak, the situation in Ukraine is escalating. The president of Ukraine is talking about reconquering militarily the areas that are not under control. They're talking about joining NATO, which is escalating the crisis. And we have seen in Europe a series of warnings about the crisis getting out of control, with the advertisement by Gerhard Schröder and Decide and others saying war not in our name, with the call by Hollande to stop the sanctions, and latest Gorbachev saying that actually, he said, such a war today would inevitably turn into a nuclear war. If someone loses their nerve because of this acrimonious atmosphere, we will not survive the coming year. So my question is, on the other hand, Russia is working together with China in the BRICS cooperation. And when President Obama had a press conference with President Xi Jinping said, we want the United States to cooperate. This is inclusive. So what do you think? I mean, they want the United States to work on their agenda of economic development, and the Arctic economic development policy is very much a part of that, with Russia as a key player and China who wants to be. So how do you see the ability to come back from the brink in light of the question of Arctic development?
Well, I think the question of coming back from the brink as relates to current activities in Ukraine is certainly beyond my responsibility, and there's no need for me to comment on that. I'm sure a lot of smart people are trying to work on that solution right now. What I do know is that the United States, along with all the Nordic countries, all the countries of the Arctic Circle, and many of the other countries of the world, have rightly condemned Russia's actions, their aggression against Ukraine, and sanctions, appropriate sanctions, have been levied against the Russians. So, in spite of that, we, the other 7 countries of the Arctic nation, but the United States in particular, has a goal to make sure that the Arctic remains conflict-free, that we can address the challenges that are in the Arctic right now, whether it's climate or shipping safety and other things. And the reality of the Arctic Council is you need the consensus of all 8 countries in the Arctic Council in order to move business forward. So we have a desire to be able to keep a line of communications open with the Russians. It's one of the reasons why I'm going to Moscow, is to talk about that. I will remind them that their actions and their rhetoric are not helpful to keeping the lines of communication open within the Arctic Council. But as we stand here today, it's our intent to continue our discussions with the Russians within the Arctic Council and be joined by our other allies in the Council in trying to move some of this business forward for this very important portion of our world. Yes?
Admiral Papp, Kevin McGuinn, Arctic Journal. We met in Reykjavik.
Yes, how are you?
Well, thank you. You're on a bit of grand tour of the Arctic countries right now. Do you plan to go to Greenland?
I plan to go to Greenland. I'm not sure where we're going to fit that in the schedule just yet. As you know, we were in Iceland.
Yeah.
I have not even been to Canada yet, much less Greenland. Look, my immediate constituency is in Alaska. I represent the United States. We have 55,000 Americans living above the Arctic Circle in Alaska. And I've made 2 long trips to Alaska to make sure they're all included. We've had a lot of work to do back in Washington, and you know, as a matter of good stewardship, I look for opportunities when there's other events going on so I can coordinate my travel. So the Arctic Frontier event in Tromsø was a good event for me to attend, and it allowed me to come to Europe and be able to do all these other visits. We'll get to Greenland in good order, and had a chance to talk to their foreign minister today. He offered me a very warm, inviting invitation, and I look forward to getting there.
Any other questions for the Admiral?
I can ask more questions if there's time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know that the U.S. chairmanship has a set of 3 goals that it wants to accomplish. But when we're in 2017 and the U.S. is handing off the chairmanship, do you have some success criteria that's going to say that we're the American chairman? The Americans are going to be able to say this has been a successful chairmanship for us.
Yes, clearly we want to make sure that we're able to exercise our search and rescue agreement and the oil spill prevention and response agreement. Have some exercises, start determining where we can work better together as countries, share resources. We hope that we can advance some of the economic and well-being issues, finding solutions and sharing best practices amongst the countries to come up with renewable energy solutions to some of the villages that we have in the cities of the north. We hope we've made some progress on making sure that the people who live in the north have access to fresh water and proper sewage treatment and other issues, particularly in the North American continent where the permafrost is thawing and creating a lot of infrastructure issues for us. One of the things that every group I've spoken with finds very important is, and we think will help not only economic well-being, but also help us provide for safety and security, is to improve the telecommunications network that surrounds the Arctic. We're going to ask each country to do a survey and an inventory of its telecommunications capabilities, and then see where we can merge those things together and come up with a system that goes circumpolar so that we can serve our people better, but also use it for purposes for making sure we can keep domain awareness and provide for the safety of the shipping and other things that are going on there. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is something you can speak to, but as a military man, when you're going to Russia, in this situation after the terrorist attacks in France, is there going to be a discussion of more United States-Russia cooperation on terrorism? Like, for example, you have some of the leaders of the IS are Chechen fighters. And also in the United States, some congressman had a press conference a week and a half ago calling for releasing the 28 pages of the 9/11 report, which supposedly has to do with Saudi Arabia's link. So do you see any increase in cooperation on terrorism?
Well, I can tell you with 100% certainty that those subjects are not going to be discussed by me while I'm in Russia. The fact that we're able to continue to communicate with Russia concerning Arctic Council business is is an opportunity for the Russians. It's an opportunity for the United States, but those responsibilities for dealing with terrorism and other things don't fall within my wheelhouse, and therefore I won't be discussing them. And I have a rather narrow agenda that I'm not only authorized, but I also want to limit it to during the time I'm there, and it will be solely focused on Arctic Council.
Thank you both very much. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
If you wouldn't mind just a minute or two with TBT.
Sure.
And then we're done. This is
Hello.
Danish TV2.
Very pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So you